Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni viewer, and this is a short bit of news for any kaiju collectors out there. If you're anything like me, and I certainly am, you have a lot of figures in your collection, but not necessarily anything interesting to put around them. You know, scenery, backdrops, things like that. It's especially frustrating for people who are into photography or stop-motion animation. Now, the collectible market has realized this collectively, and they've started making scenery, props, backdrop, and all those other things, sometimes even packaging certain props and scene things with the figures, but at the same time, you're more likely to find it for figures that are in the human size scale than in the monster size scale. So buildings and that size terrain for the giant monster collectors, still kind of rare. Not that it can't be found, but you have to really dig for it. And even then, you gotta look for the right scale and make sure there's consistency and everything. There's a whole bunch you gotta go through. Well, a few years ago, Mac McClintock, the founder of Titanic Creations, mentioned that part of his vision for the future of the company was to one day make a cityscape to go with the figures. And the company has kind of been dipping its toe into that front with their different articulated figures. Gorgo came with the Big Ben clock tower, Pulgasari came with 2 different size skyscrapers, Yongary came with so much. There were 3 oil tanks, a bridge, a pagoda, a road section that also functioned as a stand. There was a lot with that one. But still not enough to really make an entire cityscape just yet. Well, it's 2025 now. They'll soon be beginning the campaign for their articulated Titanicus figure, so they're returning to the original characters in their line. But they also announced, for April specifically, a crowdfunding campaign for that cityscape. Here are some of the teaser images that they posted. According to the official announcement, it will be a 60-piece set. 20 of those pieces will be buildings, and there's also an unspecified number of bases, cars, military vehicles, and special effects pieces. And of course, the buildings themselves will be able to be damaged in various different ways. I don't know if the removable pieces count as part of the 60 pieces or not, but we will find out, I guess. Based on the buildings they've included with the figures so far, I know that they do not skimp on those things. So they're probably going to do a pretty good job with them. The buildings, as far as I can tell based on these teaser images, will be, I don't want to say generic, but let us say nondescript, which means they don't look like they belong to any specific city, as in you can use them for any city. They're buildings that look like they could belong in Tokyo, New York, London, anywhere in the world. Specific landmarks, like the ones that come with the figures, are said to have been planned for a later release at some point. But for right now, you're going to get a variety of different buildings that will just look like buildings to put your monsters amongst. The asking price, just so you know, is going to be $99.99, which is the same thing they've been charging for their articulated figures with all those accessories. And I realize that's not cheap, but at the same time, if you were to go on Amazon right now and look for all of those different things, cityscape with street pieces, a good variety of buildings, vehicles, military vehicles, effects parts, and so on, that's gonna run up very quickly in terms of the price tag. So ultimately, and I really am saying this because I believe it, I think this is going to be the much better deal in the long run. So hopefully it gets fully funded. I'm always pulling for Titanic Creations because they listen to feedback, they make sure you get your money's worth, and, well, ultimately, I think this is going to be an interesting step forward for them. And 2025 is certainly going to be a big year between the return of Titanicus with a new articulated figure and this cityscape, and hopefully the release of Gorgo Legacy at some point. Yeah. There are big things ahead, but that's all the news for you kaiju collectors out there. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.